right, another day, another dollar. Here's what we're doing today. All right, we got push press. We have dumbbell tape presses and loo raises again. We're gonna go 4 rounds for quality. We're going heavier than what we did on the last time we saw dumbbell tape press and loo raises, and we're adding a round this week. So a little bit more volume, pushing a little heavier. Push press, 5 sets of 5, 82.5%. We're gonna base that off of our 2 rep max from what we did in FieldFit several weeks ago, last month actually, over a month ago. We're gonna start off with crossover symmetry every time. So crossover symmetry is important, especially when we're going overhead. Get your scaps moving, get them warmed up. Scapulas are responsible for the final 60 degrees of range of motion going overhead. So your scapulas, if this is your back against your back, to push overhead, your scaps are gonna shift upward. That's gonna allow that extra range of motion overhead because it requires 180 degrees from here to go all the way overhead. And even when we're right here looking at the shoulder, it's the same, nearly the same amount of range of motion going from here all the way overhead. That first about 120 degrees is shoulder joint. The remainder is coming from your scap that has to shift forward to be able to get all the way overhead there, right? So getting our scaps warmed up with crossover symmetry, getting the right muscles moving are gonna help activate and engage that scap to move smoothly so you're not jamming your shoulder. If it gets heavy enough going overhead, it's the weight's gonna go there, and that causes shoulder dysfunction, short run or long term. We like crossover symmetry, but just getting your scaps warmed up in any other way too will work if you don't have one. Banded stuff, banded pull aparts, anything to get your scaps going is key. So as we start working into the push press, I got 85 pounds on the bar right now. Let's talk about how to develop that power from your hips to get the bar overhead. So with push press, where you're allowed to use our hips, the movement is with hip assistance to produce power and energy, core to extremity, your arms. So now the push press, we are allowed to dip and drive to get the bar overhead. So the movement itself will look like this. That dip and drive is important. That's what is developing all that power to really get speed overhead, which will allow you to push more weight. First of all, your feet are going to start right underneath your hips. I like to go toes slightly pointed out. That gives you a little bit of room for your hips to dip, drop down. If you guys have ever seen the Willy Wonka movie, I've been using this example for, I don't know, probably 10 years. The original Oompa Loompas from the movie with Gene Hackman. You dip straight down, drive straight up. And that's how the Oompa Loompas used to dance, right? Oompa, doompa. So it's a dip and a stand. And just practice this. Get about 10 reps. Dip, stand. Think hips down to your heels and stand. It's very important. This is correct. This is not correct. Call this muted hip. Your hip is never actually opening up to develop power up. If you do this, you're going to feel your quads a bunch. If you hang out there for 5-10 seconds, you start feeling your quads. If you do this, you're going to start feeling your hips. And that's what we want. So we're dipping. That momentum is going up overhead. So my 82.5% is based off 215. That's 177. I don't have the change plates for that. So we're going to round up. We're going to do 180 pounds for 5 sets of 5, resting 2 or 3 minutes in between. 125, 155, 175, and then 2.5. That make 180. Let's get it. Holy hell. That's fucking heavy. Okay. Fuck. After 25 heavy push presses, I think I'm gonna have some collarbone bruises tomorrow. Good old barbell bruises. Man, it feels a ton better. A very fast, speedy overhead. It just goes to show any movement you do repeatedly, progressively, you're gonna get better at it. It's gonna feel better. You're gonna get stronger, no matter what it is. Things that you avoid, once you go back to them, won't feel quite as good the first time out. But the importance of staying consistent with certain movements for 6 to 12 week periods, whether it's your main lift or dosing in and out accessory pieces or throwing them in conditioning pieces, making sure you keep the movement alive in your programming, which we try to do as much as we can. There's never ending movements out there, right? It's possible to hit them all, but movement patterns is more what you want to look at that point too. Going overhead doesn't have to be push press. It could be push jerk, shoulder press, be a snatch, jerk, deadlift. It doesn't have to be a deadlift off the ground. It could be dumbbell deadlifts. It could be strap bar. It could be pull and snatch off the ground with a dumbbell. Movement patterns. That's what we want to look at. Do that with varying amounts of intensities, or conditioning pieces, or lifting pieces. We're strength based. The thing with intensity too is intensity breeds change. Keep that intensity up and high, you're going to get that change. It doesn't say high intensity, it doesn't say low intensity, it says intensity breeds change. For some days, it'll be low intensity to produce recovery, so you can come back in and hit a higher intensity the next day or higher intensity the following day. Sometimes days will just be intensity defined as heavy load for low reps, push press. Days intensity could be body weight load, but fast. Sprints or speed pulls with a deadlift. It is. Intensity breeds change. That's the case for intensity. That's why we do it. That's why it's important. You're not going to get where you want to go by walking. All you're going to get is point A to B, but you won't be changed. On to the next. I was just thinking of why these are so hard. All the way up overhead, you have this huge, huge eccentric motion through the movement, a bunch of muscle damage all the way down, and that's why they're so hard. I feel like after the sixth rep, I'm just like on fire already. Everything else, like shoulder press here, just down to here, not that much range of motion, maybe like 90 degrees. You're doing all 180 degrees here. If you ever go watch Pumping Iron, I think it was called, with Arnold, he says, or maybe it was Lou said it. I don't know. I remember who said it. It was in the documentary. He said, like, those first X amount of reps are preparatory. First 10 reps are preparatory. They don't do anything for you. The number where you start to feel like that burn, those are the reps that are going to change you. Keep that in mind if you're not getting to that point. You're probably not making too much change. Doesn't mean till failure. Sometimes it does. But those first I like that idea that those first reps are preparatory. Those last 4, 5, those are the money ones. Those are the ones that are deposits in the bank. So our final piece today, quick banded face pull aparts. We're going 100 reps. This is just to get a flush through the shoulders, get some external rotation going, and we're going to be knocking out these reps fairly quickly. So grab a light band. We have a red Rogue band or whatever you have that's equivalent. Loop it up about eye height, the banded face pull apart, grab hands, shoulder width apart. The movement itself, just pull them back to your face. A little bit of external rotation at the back end of it, and let the band pull you back in. And we're knocking out reps this quick. But that's it for today. We had push press, tape press, Lou raise, banded pull aparts at the end to get a flush. Hot as balls from Fresno, California. That's all she wrote.